So is the newest Jeopardy champion actually ruining the show? For the past few weeks, avid fans of the long-running quiz show have been watching a 34-year-old professional sports gambler named James Holzhauer quick buzz his way past opponents. Last night, he won his 22nd straight game, bringing his total prize winnings to more than $1.69 million. He's closing in on all-time champion Ken Jennings, but Holzhauer has annoyed purists because he skips over the low-money questions and heads right for the big bucks.
Science 12.
Answer.
11,381. What is equilibrium?
You are correct. 82,381 today, and now a 22-day total of $1,691,008.
Charles Lane in the Washington Post called him a menace, writing, Holzhauer's streak reflects the same grim, data-driven approach to competition that has spoiled, among other sports, baseball. He does not so much play the game as beat the system. What's entertaining about that? And beyond a certain point, what's admirable? My next guest has a particular expertise on the subject. Tom Nichols was a 5-time undefeated Jeopardy champion back in the 1990s. He's now a professor of national security affairs at the U.S. Naval War College. Hey, Tom, thanks for being here. I see from a tweet of yours that you agree with the analysis that I've just referenced. You said this: just watch tonight's Jeopardy. No hope for people who are new to stop a guy who's been handling the buzzer for so many games. Just like Ken Jennings, he won't be beaten. He'll play until he makes a mistake. Incredibly dull. Are you and I in the minority, along with Charles Lane, in thinking this is not the way it should be? Defend that position.
I hope we're not in the minority, because I'd hate to think that that Chuck Lane is right, that what people really want to see is not competition, but just somebody who has figured out how to break the system and rack up $1 million. And let me just say, I mean, I don't begrudge James the money. He figured it out. He's figured out the algorithm. He's got a strategy that works, but there's an inherently unfair nature to this competition. I think people who've never played Jeopardy in the studio, there are two things about Jeopardy that is important for them to understand. One is that most Jeopardy players are pretty much as smart as each other, because there's a very tough test that screens us out. It is not a random sample. Everybody who walks in there is pretty bright. Now, some are better than others. Some are true prodigies, like the great Frank Spangenberg, the transit cop who first really rocked the Tournament of Champions years ago. But the other is how much of Jeopardy is a purely mechanical operation with the buzzer and getting the rhythm right of knowing when to buzz in, because you can't see it at home, but there's a light that goes on when your buzzer when you can buzz in. Once you get that rhythm down, I mean, by the end of my second game, I had a natural advantage over anybody who was coming in against me, because I'd been handling that buzzer for 2 straight games already. And Holzhauer and Jennings and the others, that once you've won that many games, you're not indestructible, but it's really not a fair competition. And most of Holzhauer's games have been over by the first break.
I have a clip of your success that I want to ask a question. Roll it.
In 1924, Trinity College of Durham, North Carolina, changed its name to this. Tom.
What is Duke?
Yes. 5 in a row for Tom. He is fast on that signaling button, in addition to being very bright.
So I read an interview with you in which you said that part of your success was in your training. Your training was practicing while standing up. Explain.
It's a very different game when you're standing up and you're holding a buzzer. And Holzhauer has said that he practiced that way too. And when people would ask me over the years, what should I do? Stand up for 30 minutes. People think the game is easy because they're sitting in their Barca lounger, with a beer, yelling answers at the screen, saying, Flippers, Albuquerque. But you actually have to stand there and you have to wait, because that little light that you can't see at home doesn't go on until Alex is done speaking. And so there's a kind of very careful rhythm. And also, standing up is just I don't know why it is. I guess a doctor or a neurologist could tell you, but standing up is a different experience than sitting back, relaxed, with your feet up, trying to play the game. And again, I think Holzhauer figured that out. He's good at it.
Tom, like you, I of course admire his success and I respect his intellect, by the way, gleaned from reading children's books. And I also know that Jeopardy has always been a cut above, but very quickly, my perspective is my dad was a guidance counselor. He was a champion on Wheel of Fortune. On my block was Mrs. Stockel. She ran the pool and patio furniture store, wonderful woman. She went on Joker's Wild. And I feel like now it's going to be a bunch of ringers instead of people like my dad and our former neighbor.
Watching Jeopardy now is about as interesting as putting a camera in the sports book room at Caesar's Palace. This is like watching a guy who, does algorithms. I mean, even his daily double bets are, right to the penny because he's done the math in his head. And that's impressive, but it's also, it's like, it's like going to the horse races with a bookie. Nobody enjoys that.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.